Yeah, good morning. My name is Jason Coyle, Operations Section Chief for Southwest Area Team 1. Today is June 9th, and this is your operational update for the north zone of the Calf Canyon Hermits Peak fires. Last night, we did not get an IR flight because of the cloud cover that was over the fire area. So we're continuing to report the fire's size at 318,599 acres. It is 65% contained, and there are 2,672 personnel assigned to the incident. So before I get into the operational update, I want to tell you about my pointer. I've updated my pointer, and this pointer came from my house in Flagstaff. I was out walking my dog and found it in the backyard. So why I updated my pointer, I did not take it out of any place in New Mexico. I wanted to make that clear. All right, so going to the operational update for the day. Before, when I was talking to y'all before we took our short little break, I talked about how that we need to appreciate the context, define the problem, develop an approach. And so coming back to the fire this time, looking at some of how that appreciating of the context has changed and the problems that have been defined. There's a few different things that we're working on. And I'm not going to have solutions for all of them right now, but I do want to make sure that I make it clear that they're important. We know they're important, and that we're continuing to work on making sure that we can that we provide a good solution. So the first thing is the wood material that's being removed off of the indirect containment line that we're putting in place. We recognize, and the local forest recognizes, and the state, that that wood's important to people. That its wood is important to people for fuel for their homes. I grew up burning firewood is the only way to heat our house. I still burn 10 cords of wood a day and try not ever to turn the heater on and just burn wood. So I get that it is important. I get that when all the wood near your home got burned up, that's a problem. When you could normally go out on May 1st to get firewood and the woods were closed and you couldn't do that this year, I don't know for you, but for me, it's an uneasy feeling when I'm getting closer to winter and I don't have a big wood pile, because if you got a good wood pile and maybe you got an elk in the freezer, then it's going to be okay no matter what happens in the winter. But you don't have that stuff, it's stressful. So we're working on that. We're working on getting that wood delivered to locations close to the communities where people will have access to it. Well, I can't tell you exactly what that looks like right now, but in the next week, we'll have that problem defined. I can tell you that why we're defining that problem, it's not going someplace else, and that when we do move that wood, it will be a large volume of material, and it will be enough to, I believe, take care of all the needs in the areas where we locate the wood. So I know that's kind of vague. That's the best I have right now, but we'll get you more information as we work the problem. So the other problem that we're working on is appreciating the context is the timing of all of our suppression repair work relative to the onset of the monsoons. So we call it suppression repair. Basically, it's just fixing what we broke, and the things that we break are people's fences. Sometimes we tear up things with dozers. We put in lots of dozer line. We put in lots of hand line, and that stuff can create channels for erosion and create a lot of problems downstream that don't go away, but that are pretty easy to take care of if you take care of them on the front end. And so an example is a piece of dozer line. What we do is we roll the berm. We call it, so the berm's on the outside of it. We get those off of the side of the dozer line so it doesn't create a trough. And then we put barriers at angles to that dozer line so that the water runs off in small amounts periodically towards the green side, towards the unburned side of the line, versus having it channel down that dozer line, dig a deeper channel, and then next thing you know, somebody's home or whatever that never had flooding problems before has got a big muddy creek running through the back of their yard. So as we look at all those different suppression repair work, we're making sure that we have clear priorities on what we need to do first. And right now, what we need to do first is that stuff that if we don't get it done before the monsoons, that there's a higher potential that it's going to cause damage. And that right now, one of the main things for that is dozer lines on greater than 30-degree slope that are adjacent to creeks, to acequias, and to people's homes. And so we're looking at those first, and then we're going to go all the way down the list. We're putting all this in a product we call field maps, or it's being put in a product we call field maps. And the reason we're doing that is that there's a high likelihood that we won't get all the work done before the monsoons come, and that there'll be work that still needs to be done, in the fall. And so if we put this all in field maps and then we track it properly, we'll be able to say, hey, this is everything we got done. This is the stuff that's still outstanding. So then it can be picked up at a later time. The way we get the most work done that we can is to develop processes that allow us to be efficient. And that means that we're going to be resistant to change in direction to go deal with an individual's, their number one concern if it slows down our process. That's a direction that's going to be given to the folks in the field. We want that information. We want to make sure that those problems are taken care of, but we're not going to derail the process to get the higher priority work done, that is the work that's going to cause damage to like I just described, to take care of somebody's individual, their issue. I don't mean that to sound rude at all. We will get to it, but we want to get the most work done we can, and the clock's ticking. So we need to make sure that we're being as efficient as we can with that. Now, if all of a sudden you bring up something to us that it fits into high priority categories, absolutely we'll deal with it then. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that doesn't sound too unkind. One of the other things I want to talk to you guys about was structure prep versus structure triage. So when we do structure triage, that just means a lot of times we call it a windshield survey, because you do it driving by, that you actually go and you just note the location of homes and a general evaluation of what work needs to be done to protect that home. And in some cases, if a home has too much material around or whatever, that you may not be able to protect it if you're in a hurry. That's structure triage. Structure prep is the actual work. So the way this happens is that when a fire has the potential of threatening an area, we try to get all the triage done, because we want to make sure all that work is done ahead of time, so that it allows us to gauge the amount of time, the amount of resources, and what materials are going to be necessary to complete that work if it becomes necessary. And the completion of that work is what we call structure prep. So we prepare the home. That's why it's prep. When I believe yesterday it was that my counterpart from PNW2 said that all of the structure triage had been completed in a certain area. That just meant that they'd evaluate all the homes. They know where they're all at. They're on a map. So when if there became a time to do that work, they would know what the scope of that work was. So if you didn't see somebody come to your house and, do whatever, rake your needles, cover your wood pile, whatever, that's not part of the structure triage part. All right, let's see. I think those were the main issues that I wanted to hit on this morning. I invite you guys to put things in the comments about anything else that is unclear or that you need information about. And with that, I'll just quickly go to the map. There's really it's not the same kind of map as it was before in the problems that we're facing. But over here on the Osho Ridge, so south of 64, all the way down to the Luna Fire Scar, the work along this dozer line is continuing. They think they have 3 to 4 more days of work before they're ready to start pulling the larger material off of there and bringing it up to the landing sites that they've identified. So that means the logs. So bringing the larger logs up these landing sites. 3 or 4 more days to do that. The work that's necessary, getting the roads ready, getting all the rest of the mastication, everything else has to be done around there. And then they'll start working on that. Work is still continuing on the north-south line here from the 518 back to Osho Ridge and then tying into the Luna Fire Scar. And, they've been making about a mile a day. We think we have 10 days plus worth of work left to get that line in the rest of the way. And we're going to continue that work over the next 10 days. Go down to the south. Everything around the fire's perimeter, the entire perimeter of the part the giant part of the fire here between Chacon and Guadalupita that is up in the Rincon Range, everything is looking good in that there's no fire that has been identified that was or could potentially be a threat to the line. So anything that's a threat to getting out. There was a couple places yesterday when the crews were out patrolling that there was some smokes coming up that were well interior, but they were starting to see more smokes. And, if we got some wind, some outflows from some of those thunderstorms they're calling for later today, we may see some more smokes, but nothing is a threat to the line. But there still will be resources in there, continued patrol. And then the primary effort in this whole area is going to be that suppression repair work that I was telling you about. Going off to the west, everything north of the 518 and Division Kilo and Lima, everything is holding right there. No new threats to the line. Nothing identified in the IR when it was flown or in the satellite imagery we saw yesterday that shows it's a threat to the line. I could see in the next couple of days us being able to show this whole piece contained. That's what the divisions are reporting from out in the field. And so as long as they keep up that optimistic view, we should be able to put some black on the map and get this whole edge contained right here. All right, going out to the west, everything in Division Mike, this part that is one of our highest areas of concern just because of how that crown fire, the fire that burned all the trees when it came through there, through the tops of them, how it threw a bunch of embers out there that we found and that the PNW2 team found over the last 7 days while we were gone. We're still keeping a close eye on that. Still nothing outside the line. Going all the way down towards Serpent Lake, there's a crew, a hotshot crew and a fire use module that are going to be working all the way down towards Serpent Lake. There's 4 isolated areas of heat that were interior. So they're in the black side, but they were near the line that they're going to be working on today. This dozer line that goes all the way down along the roads and then through the land grant and then it's going to tie back into the old Borrego scar. The work on it is continuing. It's close coordination with the individuals responsible for the different areas that they pass through. And then the goal is over the next several days during our 10 years to get that tied back into the Borrego fire. And the reason why we're still doing all that work, and we're still doing the work up here, is because while our sister team in the south has been doing a great job of preventing the fire from moving further south, where it had burned to the oh my gosh, I just forgot the Vivash had burned to the west of the Vivash scar. This fire that is burning in the old Trampas scar up here. This is Hamilton Mesa, Beatty Cabin's up over here somewhere. Kind of orienting it, there it is, Beatty Cabin. So that fire, our modeling shows that while it is not, there's a low probability of it ever moving up across or towards the ridge line that separates, that goes from North Truchas all the way around up to Ripley Point, that there's no line on this side of it. So we're saying that it's a low threat because of the assumptions that we're making. And what we're assuming is that we're going to be able to, that the fire's not going to move rapidly to the northwest, that this surge of moisture that's here right now and this period of drying that we're expected to have over the next 5 to 7 days after that it is going to be followed with more significant monsoonal moisture. And so those assumptions drive part of our planning, but we're not going to hang our hats on those assumptions being true. Anybody's lived here for very long in Arizona, New Mexico knows that they get those false starts to the monsoons that sometimes they go away for a couple weeks before they come back. And there's been a couple years, unfortunately, where they haven't come back, which I hope that's not this year. But until such time as that monsoonal pattern is well established and we're certain that the fire's northern progression down in that area is going to be checked, we're going to keep doing the work that we are up on our end to protect the communities and protect the acequias and the Picaris Pueblo and the other areas that are near that part of the fire, the ski resorts, everything else. So, all right, I will keep refreshing on my names because it seems like I've forgotten some of them over the last 6 days, and we'll see you guys back here again tomorrow. Thank you.